So we'll just go through the 6th chapter. So 6th chapter is okay, we have like 40 plus slokas. So 23, we'll try to finish 23 today. So after then 2 sessions, we can finish 6th chapter, and then we'll have the closed book assessment. Hope you are preparing it in your Bhakti classes, right? So the same thing will be asked, like whatever from the closed book only, it will be asked. And there also will be sloka recitation. So I hope you all started studying the sloka. So like 3 or 4 slokas, okay? Open book assessment, yeah, 2 you have done, and the 4th chapter, so that is enough. So in between I can show the slide. Okay. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakshya Chaturmina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manavishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Tadampi Swapadambitam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahadana Raghunathanidam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijam Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Deva Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishalavinamsha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bundu Jagatade Gopesha Gopika Kanda Radha Kanda Namosle Taptakara Rangi Shiradi Vrindavani Shri Vishvansi Devi Pranamami Panchakatara Shakra Sindhu Devi Vijayapurana Bhaganebhya Vaishnavebhya Namah Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhugale Shri Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Prajarini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatyadesh Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So we'll start with 10 to 23 slokas. I mean 1 to 10 is and then the PPT. Okay, so in the last 5th chapter, can we have a quick recap? What the discussion we had in the 5th chapter? It is Krishna consciousness, Karma Yoga in Krishna consciousness, right? So here we'll just try to go through a quick recap of the 5th chapter. And the 6th chapter is basically about Dhyana Yoga. So here, from here till here, Krishna speaks about Karma Yoga, and next 7 to 12 is about Bhakti Yoga, right? So first 9 slokas are mainly advancing in the Ashtanga Yoga. That is Aru Ruksha to Arudha stage. We'll see the different steps of Ashtanga Yoga, the 8 steps, Yama, Niyama, all that till Samadhi. So we'll see what are these stages, the beginning stage and the end stage. So that's the first 9 slokas is explained. But the summary of the 5th chapter was, so there is a link, okay? Like in chapter 5, Krishna described how to attain liberation by Nishkama Karma Yoga. And also he gave a small hint about Ashtanga Yoga. So in this chapter 6, Krishna will describe Ashtanga Yoga in detail as a means to control the mind and senses. So prerequisite for practicing advanced stage of Ashtanga Yoga is that one must be purified through the practice of Nishkama Karma. That's the link. Sometimes these questions you can see to explain the connection between chapter 5 and 6. Then 10 and 11. 10 and 11 means before showing the universal form, Krishna speaks about his opulences. So that is first his theory, then he shows it practically. So like that. So here also you can see all the chapters are linked actually. So in chapter 5, he speaks about how to attain liberation through Nishkama Karma Yoga. And then in chapter 6, he speaks about Ashtanga Yoga. Okay. So by discussing Ashtanga Yoga in detail, Lord Krishna established it as an impractical one. It's very difficult. Klesho adhikatarastesha avyakta sartachera. It's very difficult. Krishna only says, first he explains this process and then he says it's difficult. Therefore, one should reject it in favor of Bhakti Yoga. And then slowly it goes to Bhakti Yoga in 7th chapter. So there is a link there again. So why Krishna is explaining this Ashtanga Yoga in detail then? I mean, if it is difficult, Krishna wouldn't have explained, no? Why? But why is he explaining in detail? You can raise your digital hand. Yes, Reddy Prabhu. Prabhu, you want to say?
Hare Krishna Mataji. I think the reason is he is explaining so that we understand the difficulty in practicing this.
Oh, yes, yes. So we understand the difficulty, and that's one way of explaining. Yes, Biju Prabhu, what is the other way of explaining?
Hare Krishna. So the general understanding is when you do penances and sacrifice everything, you might get connected to the God. So that is the general understanding. So people get a feeling that you need to be disconnected from the society and then be isolated and doing such practices.
Okay.
So, which in the Kali Yuga is not going to be practically possible. So probably he shows that and then says it is to be avoided.
Yes. Okay. Suma Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, so that we can make wiser choice, Mataji, by choosing Bhakti Yoga over that Dhyana Yoga,
Yeah.
despite the difficulty.
So he's giving the choice. Ganeshan Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Mataji. In any age, because to convince a person, we need to show the comparison. Only when you compare one system with the other system, one is able to understand which is better and which is easier, so that it is more convincing to follow. It's just my understanding.
And what about those who are already practicing, like those who are might be yogis from previous life, and they continue, like nobody can reach samadhi in one life, no? Reaching samadhi is a long process. So that particular soul have been practicing this yoga, the dhyana yoga since so many lifetime, and in this life he is almost reaching perfection, going to samadhi. So for those, Krishna wants to attract all class of people. So those who are all liking all these things, that pranayam and all that meditation and the focusing, they can also get attracted to Krishna through this Ashtanga Yoga technique, because this also connects to Krishna, like the ladder of Bhakti Yoga. If you see, the topmost is Bhakti Yoga definitely, but then there is Karma Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and Ashtanga Yoga also, right? So yeah, it's a progressive step towards Bhakti Yoga. So Krishna is giving them a chance. If people doesn't like to take Bhakti Yoga straight away, you can go through different steps. So Krishna doesn't upset everyone and gives them a choice, like they can decide which one they want. But it is difficult. It is a difficult process, and it is indirect way. Krishna only explains it, and those who are intelligent will catch it. That, oh, Krishna is explaining Ashtanga and he himself is saying it's difficult. So let's go to Bhakti Yoga. So as you said, he's giving a comparison and he's giving a choice to say which is better. And then, but those who are Alpa Medasa, there are two terms, okay? Sumedasa and Alpa Medasa. Where in the Shastra is this mentioned? Sumedasa and Alpa Medasa. What is the meaning, and in which connection Krishna mentions this? Any idea? We have heard this Shloka so many times about Sumedasa. I'll give a clue, something related to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. No idea? Yeah, Sunita Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Sumedasa means intelligent, highly intelligent, most intelligent, and
Yes.
Alpa means less intelligent.
Yes.
And in the shloka that Yagnai Sankitanai Prarthai, I forgot that shloka, Mataji.
Krishna Varnam Tusha Krishna Sangopangastra Parshadam Yetne Sankirtanam Praya Yajandihi Sumedasa. So what does that explain in that sloka?
Krishna will come in the form of Chaitanya Prabhu along with his associates,
Ah.
and those who are intelligent will take to chanting. Mataji.
Yes. And what about Alpha Medasa? Where in the Bhagavad Gita is mentioned? Less intelligent, but who are considered less intelligent? Chinnaswami Ganeshan Prabhu, you know?
No, Mataji, I'm not able to refer exactly.
Okay, that's for the demigod worshippers. Okay, I don't remember the sloka number, but somewhere it's mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita that they are Alpa Medasa, because they are asking for temporary results. No, those who worship the demigods are asking for material things. This is temporary. But Krishna Bhakta said Bada Chatur. He is very intelligent because he's asking asking Krishna himself, which is the superior most thing. The permanent solution for all our problems. So that is moksha and devotional service. So that's right. Okay, now Ashtanga yogis, like Nishkama Karma yogis, engage in detached work to advance. So what happens is true renunciation manifests in detachment from possessiveness and enjoying propensities, and not necessary in cessation of activities. So basically, true renunciation means what? Detachment from your things, what you possess, right? And your sense enjoyment, you should get detached. And Krishna consciousness is the ultimate plane of selflessness, because a devotee only desires pleasure of Krishna. doesn't want anything, right? A devotee. And in that sloka, the first sloka, it is said, Shri Bhagavan Vaja, Anashrita Karma Phalam Karyam Karma Karodiya, Sasanyasi Cha Yogi Cha, Nani Nirad Nacha Kriya. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, one who's unattached to the fruits of his work and who works as he is obligated is in the renounced order of life. And he's the true mystic, not he who lights no fire and perform no duty. Right? In that purport, you can see that Prabhupada mentions about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's prayer. Nadanam najanam na suntarim kavitam va jagadesha kame mama janmani janmanishware bhavadar bhakti rahetu ki tvai. What does this mean? Do you okay, raise your digital hands. Those who know Shastri by heart. Who knows Shastri by heart? All the 8 stanzas. Only 3, 4, 5. Only 5, 3, 4. No, I expect everyone to know. We are in Bhakti Shastri now. You have to know the whole Shastri. Only 6 of them is knowing in this class. Every day before chanting your round, started chanting, you have to, initially you have to look and read, but later on, as you keep on doing it every day, you will learn it, because the meaning of Shastri is very important as you advance in devotional service. You are in level 5 now. You're all going to be preachers. So Shastri is only the 8 verse. You know, initially even I didn't care for Shastri. I was very lazy to learn it. And everyone used to say nothing, you have to learn that. I never bothered it. But later on, one senior devotee told me, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who's Krishna, never wrote any books. Actually, he wrote one book and he was about to publish it. It's about grammar and all, because he was in the Nyaya philosophy as Nimai Pandit. And when his friend also wrote a book, and the friend came to know that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nimai Pandit have wrote a book, and that's going to be famous than his. So the friend felt upset. And they were going in a boat in Ganges River. And when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu understood this, that his friend doesn't like him writing the book, he threw the book in the river. So there's no books available by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu except these 8 verses, whose Krishna himself have given us only these 8 verses in Kali Yuga. And when I came to know that, oh, it's Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself who gave these 8 verses, and we should learn it. Who else will learn? So every day, if you chant these 8 stanzas, the verses, then you make it by heart. So understand the meaning also. In that Shastri, this is the most important verse. It is said this verse should be made as your daily sadhana, like Nadanam najanam nasundarim kavitam va jagadesha kame. I don't want any wealth. I don't want any followers. I don't want beautiful women. What do I want? Mama janmani janmanishware. Janmani means life after life. I just want Bhagavad Bhakti rahetu ki tvai. I just want your devotional service. So what do you mean by this birth after birth? What is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu rejecting by saying birth after birth? That's one of the symptoms of pure devotional service.
Doesn't want liberation.
Yeah, doesn't want liberation. So liberation, that's called moksha lagugrat. It's one of the symptoms of pure devotional service, that a pure devotee doesn't want even liberation. Birth after birth means what? Let me take rebirth again and again. Might be in hell or heaven or earth, wherever it is. But I'm happy if I'm being a devotee of yours. So here it is said that Krishna consciousness person, he wants pleasure of Krishna, nothing else. He doesn't want any material things, right? So the first sloka, it's about a perfect sannyasi and a perfect yogi been mentioned. So karma yoga is better than Ashtanga yoga, because Ashtanga yoga is the control of mind and senses, which is very difficult, especially in Kali Yuga, as you all said. It's very difficult to control the mind. Later in this chapter itself, Arjuna will say, Chanchalam hi mana Krishna pramadi balavadridam tasyaham nigraham manye vayo rivas dushkaram. It's very difficult to control the mind, Krishna. Controlling the wind is easy, but not the mind. And one who desires to practice Ashtanga yoga should not suddenly give up prescribed duties, karma yoga, that purify his heart. We should not give up the karma yoga just like that. Since a karma yogi renounces the results of his action, he's called sannyasi. And because his mind doesn't dwell on the enjoyment of sense object, he's called yogi. Okay, so he is a sannyasi when he renounces the results. Since his mind doesn't dwell on enjoyment of sense object, he is a yogi. Okay, what is satisfaction of Krishna means? A Krishna conscious person have no desire for self-satisfaction. Does anyone know what is this mean? What is that? The one sentence. In one sentence, how do you frame this? Have no desire. Is ready, Prabhu.
He always works for the satisfaction of Krishna only.
Yes.
So obviously, he's not working for self-satisfaction.
Yes. So he doesn't. That means he is trying to serve Krishna's senses and not his senses, right? Rishikena Rishikesha Sevana. That's what he is doing. And Anya Abhilashita Shunyam. He have no other desire except pleasing Krishna. And his success is in satisfaction of Krishna. That is a perfect sannyasi. That's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu praised this. So Mama Janmani Janmanishware means what? Like, let me take Punarjanma again. He is rejecting liberation here. Moksha Lagu Vrat. Vilamala Mangalam Thakur also praised this, right? So here the second sloka, relationship between sannyasa and yoga is mentioned here. Yam sannyasam idi prahur yogam tam viddi pandava nahi asanyashta sangalpo yogi bhavati kashana. What is called renunciation? You should know to be the same as yoga, or linking oneself with the Supreme, or son of Pandu. For one can never become a yogi unless he renounces the desire for sense gratification. Right? So sense gratification is what which is taking us away from Krishna. Last class we were discussing about Yukta Vairagya and Falgu Vairagya, right? So Yukta Vairagya means using everything in Krishna's service. Anasaktasya Vishaya Nidarham Upayunjata Nirbandhe Krishna Sambandhe Yukta Vairagya Muchate. So that is Yukta Vairagya. That's the right type of renunciation we should know. And the other type is Falgu Vairagya, which we explained that it looks deep but it's shallow, like a Markada Vairagya, Monkey Vairagya, right? They reject even what can be used in Krishna's service. Prapanchikataya putya hari sambandhi vaskara mumukshubi parityago vairagyam falgu kichyate. So hari sambandhi vaskara, anything which is related to Krishna also they reject, just like that. It looks like renouncing, but inside they have so much attachment to sense enjoyment. So detachment action is same as renunciation because both require freedom from desire for sense gratification. So detachment, what is the best example which we discussed about detachment last class? In last class also an example is given. An analogy Prabhupada mentions. What's the best analogy you can think of? Something which is detached when you see the nature. And it's given in Bhagavad Gita 5th chapter. Nobody remembers?
Padma Patram Ivambasi.
Yes. Padma Patram Ivambasha. What is that, Mataji?
Like the lotus flower, though it is in the water,
Yeah.
it doesn't get wet. Similarly, we being in the material world, we are not contaminated by the material, whatever activities.
So Padma Patram Ivambasha, yes, the flower, it's not getting contaminated. And also the leaf of the lotus flower, right? Even there is water in it, it's not getting attached. There's another example of a dry coconut. Who knows? How is a dry coconut? How do you know it's a dry coconut or a fresh coconut? How do you differentiate? Just common sense.
There's no water. Yeah. No water.
So how do you know?
It makes noise.
It makes noise.
There's some noise, like inside there is like, you feel it's not, there's no water in it, and that's like, so when you open the shell, how do you see the coconut inside?
Whole. It is whole.
Right.
The whole thing. That means it's detached from the shell, no? It's very easy to separate. But what about a fresh coconut? You have to grate it out. So a fresh coconut is like us. We are so attached to this material things that this guru has to come and grate us out from the attachment. I mean, he has to pull us out. But as you do devotional service, as the coconut gets matured, then what happens? It's called copra, no? What we say? And then what happens? It gets detached from the shell. So a pure devotee is like a dry coconut. He is not attached to anything. What happens inside? That he's getting detached from the shell. It's very difficult to separate the fresh coconut from the shell, right? Grate, and then only you get. But a dry coconut easily comes out. Why it's so detached from the shell? So that's a nice example to compare about detachment, right? But then maturity is important. So Prabhupada says we are all mangoes, like we are all doing devotional service, sadhakas. But the raw mango is little bitter, not sweet. But as the mango ripens, it becomes very ripe, then it is very sweet. So that's how the devotees are. In neophyte stage, we are like raw mangoes. But what should we do so that the raw mango becomes ripe? What is the only thing the mango had to do? if you're not artificially ripening it, what is the best way to ripen the mango? The raw mango to
Wait. Time.
Wait. That's right. Wait for naturally to mature.
For the right time.
For the right time. But the mango should be where? Where the mango should be?
It
On
should
the
be attached to the tree, Mataji.
It should be attached to the tree. Yeah, it should be on the tree itself, right? Yeah, it should be on the tree. So similarly, we should be on the boat of Krishna consciousness, and we have to wait. We should have patience so that the maturity will come. That's a nice example I liked. Okay. So real sannyas yoga or bhakti implies knowledge of one's constitutional position as living entity. So our constitutional position is Jivera Swarupahoy Krishna Nitya Dasa. So that's our real position, that we are eternal servants of Krishna. That's a constitutional position. But we forgot, since Maya captured us, we forgot that we are part and parcel of the Lord, right? Part and parcel of the Supreme. Krishna himself says we are part and parcel of him. That's the conditioned state, means we have been entrapped by the material energy. But the real natural state is when we are in Krishna consciousness. So Prabhupada says, why do you think some devotee was sharing, Mataji, till coming to Krishna consciousness, I was okay, like I was not so attached to bhakti and all. But just hearing Harinam, just reading Prabhupada's book, just associating with devotees, the Krishna consciousness is awakening in me. And now I can't live without Krishna consciousness. Right? Even if somebody gives you 1 crore of rupees, you won't stop chanting. You won't stop going to the temple because you are so attached to Krishna. Where did it come from? It didn't come in one day. It is already in you. Like a child, you have to train him to walk. But then the walking capacity is already inside the child. No? So Prabhupada says, Krishna consciousness is already inside you. As a soul, as spirit soul, it's already into it. You just have to brush it up and waken it up. That's it. As a child is taught by the parent to walk, and then we give that device where he can stand and then start walking. So where is that walking capacity coming from? We are not giving it. It's already in him, right? Just have to take it out. Similarly, Krishna consciousness is already in him. But when we entrap with Maya, that's why we are called conditioned soul, like Baddha, Nitya Baddhas. Nitya Baddhas means we have been conditioned by the 3 modes. But the real nature, the constitutional person is we are part and parcel of the Lord. So stage of complete knowledge is when the living entity stops his sense gratificatory activities and act according to his spiritual constitution. So how does the yogis achieve the state? By restraining the senses from material attachment. And how a devotee attains is constant engagement in Krishna consciousness activities. And he has no opportunity of the senses to engage in any other things except Krishna. So he doesn't give the senses a chance to go to material things because he is 24 hours engaged in Krishna consciousness. What is that called? 24 hours, a devotee sees his time is not wasted. He's always checking that his time is invested in Krishna consciousness activities. Does anyone know what is that term called? That's one of the symptoms of bhava stage. It's called avyartha kalatva. Avyartha kalatva means devotee. Huh? Yes, Mataji?
Nitya Siddha.
Nitya Siddhas are, liberated souls, but that, Suma Mother. So, Avyartha Kalatva means the devotee keeps checking whether he is not wasting any one of his time. That is a bhava stage. There are 9 symptoms of bhava. In that, one is Avyartha Kalatva. So, failure of Jnana and Yoga. If we do not give up activities of selfish nature, what happens? Our real aim of life is to give up the selfish satisfaction, sense gratification, and prepare to satisfy the Supreme Krishna. And one who fails in this aim, with no information of the Supreme, must engage in selfish activities. Those who are ignorance in avidya, they don't know how to satisfy Krishna. They satisfy their self. And who fulfill this criteria is only a Krishna conscious person. Who doesn't have any desire for sense enjoyment, but is engaged in the enjoyment of the Supreme. But this is in a pure stage, okay? This is pure devotion service. For initially, artha jnani jitnasu. So in neophyte devotee, he sees his pleasure, also Krishna's pleasure. In Madhyamadhikari, little more advanced, but Uttamadhikari is like this, who have no other desire for sense enjoyment. Anya Bilashita Shunya. That is possible in the Uttamadhikari stage. But till we reach there, there will be some kind of self-desires, but it gets purified. Slowly, the purification process will come. So 3rd to 4th sloka. Okay, here it is mentioned now. Arurukshor muneryogam karma karanam uchyate yogarudasya tasyaiva sama karanam uchyate. For one who's a neophyte, the Eightfold Yoga system, work is said to be the means. And for one who's already elevated in yoga, cessation of all material activities is said to be the means. So there are two stages are mentioned here in the purport. You can see that is the two stages, yoga ruruksha and yoga ruda. Okay, we'll see. So meaning of yoga is what? Connecting to Krishna. Karma yoga, jnana yoga, bhakti yoga is yoga means connecting to Krishna through karma, through jnana, through bhakti. So that's yoga. And analogy, the yoga is compared to a ladder, different stages. The lowest is the condition of living entity, that begins from the lowest material condition to the topmost spiritual realization. Jnana yoga, dhyana yoga, and bhakti yoga, right? And beginning, it's called yoga ruruksha, the yamas and all, right? All these are called yoga ruruksha, and the highest is yoga ruda, which is samadhi. See, in the purport, Prabhupada have mentioned the beginning is yoga ruruksha, and the highest is yoga ruda. As we know, the ashtanga yoga, the 8 limbs are what? Yama, that's the don'ts of the regulation. Niyama, the do's, what all we supposed to do. Asana, the body exercise, how you sit cross-legged and on a mat, looking straight. Pranayam, the breathing exercise, controlling inhalation, exhalation, and all. Then pratyahara, withdrawing the senses from sense objects. Dharana, fixing the mind on the Lord's form. So what does the yogi do? In which form do they meditate on? Then dhyana, intense meditation, and samadhi, complete absorption. What does, yes, Janaswami Ganeshan Prabhu?
Mataji, I did not
You unmuted, that's why I thought. Okay, which form does a yogi meditate on?
Paramatma form, Mataji.
Paramatma form, yes, Paramatma form, right? Or sometimes in the initial states, the Brahman also. Yes, in the Samadhi, he started complete absorption. But here, when he started Dharana and Dhyana, he's fixing on the Lord's Paramatma form, the 400 form, right? A 400 form. That's what a yogi does. Okay, so that is Yama, who's the don'ts, what all you're not supposed to do. Niyama is the do's, what you're supposed to do. Asana is the body exercise. Then Pranayam, the breathing control. Then Pratyahara, withdrawing the senses. The Dharana is fixing the mind. Dhyana is again intense meditation. And last is Samadhi. Okay, the first stages is called the Yoga Ruruksha, and the last stage is Yoga Ruda. That much you should know. So Yoga Ruruksha is the beginning stage. And Yoga Ruda is the last stage. So position of Krishna conscious person is a Krishna conscious person, however, situated from beginning on the platform of meditation. So in material life, at the end, you get happiness. You study, you get a job, you work and all that, and finally you buy the things which you like, and then finally you are happy. But in spiritual life, first stage is happiness. Anandambudhi vardhanam pradipatam purnamridasvadanam. You feel so happy in the first stage itself, right? So because we are associating with the pleasure, reservoir of pleasure, Krishna, we always think of Krishna, and being constantly engaged in the service of Krishna is considered to have ceased all material activities. Krishna consciousness fulfill all criteria of Yoga Ruda stage by engaging in transcendental loving service. So one is always pleased in himself and is no longer engaged in sense gratification. A Krishna conscious person can do everything for Krishna's satisfaction, and thus perfectly detached from sense gratification. So Krishna Sambandhe Yukta Vairagya. So the more you get attached to Krishna, the more you get detached from material things. We don't have to work out for it, right? How many of you have got detached from tea, coffee, onion, garlic because you started chanting? You didn't have to do anything for it, no? Naturally, it happened, yes or no? Yama, 3 months, including me. I was also like that. Viju Prabhu, yeah, we didn't do anything for it. We didn't have to purposely stop it or something. Slowly, the taste went away. Why? Because we are associating with Krishna. So here it is said that when you are engaged in Krishna's service, satisfying Krishna, then perfectly, then the detachment of sense gratification comes automatically. Without Krishna consciousness, the senses always need engagement. So without Krishna consciousness, they are automatically engaged in sense gratification. Prabhupada says, if you're not serving Krishna, you're serving Maya. There's only 2 options, right? Anything which is not related to Krishna is Maya. Maya is what? Which makes us forget Krishna, right? So that is sense gratification. Definitely we go to sense gratification. So the next sloka also says about that. Yatahi nendriyarteshu na karmeshu anishajyate sarva sankalpa sannyasi yoga rudastadochyate. A person is said to be elevated in yoga when having renounced all material desires. He neither acts for sense gratification nor engage in fruitive activities. So when you read this, we should not feel, I am not like that. I still have some personal sense gratification, or I have personal desires. Now what to do? So there are different stages, what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, no? A neophyte, a madhyama, a kanishta, madhyama, and an uttamadhikari. So this is basically for an uttamadhikari who doesn't have any material desires. Like Dhruva Maharaj is a nice example. He went for getting money, right? So that he can become greater king than his grandfather. And then when he saw the Lord, what happened? What did he say? What did Dhruva Maharaj say after seeing the Lord? He got the darshan of the Lord in 6 months, right? And when Lord touched with the conch shell on Dhruva Maharaj's head, what did Dhruva Maharaj say? Or what did he ask for? Those are attending almost all of this class. I can see in the 5:45 a.m. Bhagavatam class. So Prankeshwari Mataji recently finished Dhruva Maharaj's pastimes now, in fourth canto. Nobody remembers? If you're listening, this is all submissive listening. Yes, Reddy Prabhu.
Mataji, he didn't want the kingdom. Basically, he went for kingdom. He didn't want.
Yes. So
he actually wanted the devotional service. He wanted to serve Krishna.
So he didn't want any material things. He wanted to serve Krishna. That's right. So in the chat, Penaja Mataji, he asked for he told, I thought of getting a broken piece of glass, but I got diamond, not gold. So he told, I have come in search of a broken piece of glass, and now I have got diamond. That is one thing. And what else he said is, Swamin Kritosmi Dvaramna Yache. I'm satisfied. I don't want any blessings from you. But still Krishna gave Dhruvaloka. That is a different thing. Right? But then he told, I don't want anything, because he's completely satisfied by seeing Krishna. And he said, if at all you want to give me something, take away the desire, take away the thought, so that I don't have any material desires. Take away the thought from me that I should not have any material desires. See how he got purified just by getting darshan of the Lord. So when we start associating with Srila Prabhupada through his books and lectures, through devotees, then we'll come to know slowly, what am I doing? A devotee feels ashamed to ask about material desires to Krishna. Prabhupada mentions this. A devotee is ashamed to ask. A devotee, I don't feel like asking anything. Once Prabhupada was standing in front of the deities and praying. So devotees like, Prabhupada won't ask any desires. Now he doesn't have any desires, material. So what is he asking? So Prabhupada was actually having spiritual desires to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world, to print books. And he also prayed to protect him from Maya. He was asking Krishna, please protect me from Maya. Don't make me forget Krishna. So that's the real prayer of a pure devotee. Initially, yes, there is sense gratification, but as we advance, then we know Krishna provides. Eko Pahunamiyo Vidadadikama. He will provide. Then automatically engage in Krishna's satisfaction. Then in the 5th sloka, 5 to 6, the mind is compared to one's best friend and worst enemy. When does it become your friend? When does it become your enemy? Yes? When does it become your friend? The mind. Yes, Biju Prabhu?
When we train our mind and take control
Yes.
of it.
Yes.
Then
When you train, it becomes your
friend.
And when you can't control it, it becomes an uncontrolled mind, becomes your enemy, right? So our only enemy is the mind. Who said this to whom? Who said that your enemy is?
Who said this to Krishna, Mataji?
Who, Arjuna?
Yes.
Yeah, Arjuna said that I can't control my mind, Krishna. That's what Arjuna said. But someone else said that your enemy is not outside, your enemy is inside, who's your mind. Rupa Mataji.
Prahlad Maharaj to Hiranyakashipu.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, Prahlad Maharaj. So when Hiranyakashipu was so angry at Vishnu because Varahadev killed his brother Hiranyaksha, that Hiranyakashipu was searching for Vishnu. Where is your Vishnu? Where is your Vishnu? Is he hiding anywhere? And Prahlad says, no, he is in your heart. I mean, he is inside everyone. And he's like, no, he's my enemy. He is my enemy. And then Prahlad says, no, nobody is your enemy except your own mind. Your own mind is your enemy. And then Hiranyakashipu asked, where did you get this power to speak so much and do so much? So he said, wherever you are getting from the power from, I am also getting from the same person. That's Vishnu, right? So he says, Prahlad Maharaj says that we don't have any other enemy. Our own mind is our enemy. Uncontrolled mind is the enemy. And if it is controlled, it becomes your friend. Most of us have experienced, right? Like so much, we worry for so many things, and so many things happens just because of uncontrolled mind. One day we get up, our mind is so peaceful, the whole world looks so wonderful to us. The next day we get up, we are so disturbed in the mind, then everything looks negative for us. The same situation would be, it can be seen as positive and negative. There is nothing good and bad in this world, it is said. It's your mind which discriminates. It's discriminating. This is good, this is bad. Now, what are the functions of the mind? What does the mind do?
Thinking, feeling, and willing.
Thinking, willing, feeling, and also it rejects and accepts, right? Okay. Right. So yes, thinking, willing, and feeling. So all these are the functions of the mind. The mind is the one who's thinking and willing and feeling, and also he accepts something and rejects something. So the controlled mind is a friend. And how do we control the mind? Definitely engaging the senses in Krishna service. That's the best way to control. There's no other best way to control. And follow the dictation of the super soul. We are detached from sense gratification. The result is the mind elevates us. An uncontrolled mind becomes your enemy, right? So controlled mind is your friend, uncontrolled mind becomes enemy, and it follows the dictation of lust, anger, illusion, and all, and it's attached to sense gratification. The result is it degrades and entangles us. So the mind control is the central point of yoga practice, mind control. So to draw the mind away from sense objects. What does a yogi do? If a yogi sees a laptop, he says, oh, it's Maya, it's Maya. He closes his eyes. And he's inside, he'll be like so curious to know what a laptop is. But a Bhakti yogi, he can just walk in and take a laptop and start searching in Veda base or some Shastra and do Swadhyay. So what is he doing? No, you can't purposely control. You need to give it a better engagement. To control the mind, to control and make it a friend in discharging the mission of human life. That's the purpose of mind control. And the best way is engage the mind in Krishna consciousness. Save mana Krishna Pataravindeyo. Perfect surrender to Lord's dictation follows automatically in Krishna consciousness. We start following Krishna's order. So it's very important to control the mind. Okay. So now the fifth sloka it is said, Uddaret atmanatmanam natmanam avasadhayet atmaiva hi atmano bandhur atmaiva ripuratmanaha. One must deliver himself with the help of his mind and not degrade himself. The mind is the friend of the conditioned soul and his enemy as well. So in the purport, it is mentioned about how a mind becomes your friend and enemy. Bandhuratmatmanastasya yenatma vai enatmaivatmana jitaha atma anatmanastu shatrutve vartete maiva shatruvat. For him who has conquered the mind is the best of the friends. And for one who have failed to do so, the mind will remain the greatest enemy. These slides don't have the slokas, and I was traveling today, could not include the slokas. Next time I'll see the slokas. Or you have the book with you so that we can go through the slokas. Okay, rest, everything is here. The notes is here. So why to train the mind? To deliver the conditioned souls from the mire of material existence, means that's an important thing to control the mind. And what is the mire of material existence? One is subject to the influence of mind and senses, and a pure soul is entangled in the material world because the mind is involved in false ego and desire to load it over material nature, right? So what should we do to train the mind? Train so that one should not be attracted by the glitter of this material nature, and thus the conditioned soul can be saved, not be degraded by attraction to sense objects. Mind attached to sense object is the cause of bondage, and mind detached to sense object is the cause of liberation, right? So if you are attached to sense object, definitely it causes bondage. Again, karma, and then, but when it is detached from sense objects, so that is when we start serving Krishna, then it gets purified. So that is, so fifth and sixth is basically about how a mind is your enemy and your friend. Okay, and the best way to disentangle oneself is to always engage the mind in Krishna consciousness. It is said there. Okay. The seventh and ninth is symptom of a person with controlled mind, that is yoga ruda stage. and being completely neutral to material existence. Chitatmana prashantasya paramatma samahitaha shitoshna sukadukeshu tata mana pamaneyo. For one who have conquered his mind, the super soul is already reached, for he has attained tranquility. To such a man, happiness, distress, heat, cold, honor, dishonor are all on the same. So this is about a person who has controlled his mind. And in that purport again, yeah, false ego, sometimes, yes, you have this subtle body for mind, intelligence, and false ego. So sometimes false ego goes above the intelligence, because when the intelligence is not up to the mark, today Bhagavatam class Namanishya Prabhu was saying the best method is having spiritual knowledge, transcendental knowledge. That's what Kapila Dev says to Devahuti. Kapila Dev says that you have to have transcendental knowledge. So the intelligence is basically, there are two types of vidya, paravidya, aparavidya, right? So one is material things, the material intelligence, but that is not going to be taken with you when you leave the body, the soul, right? It's the spiritual intelligence. So spiritual intelligence, when you do transcendental study, the swadhyay and about the shastra, then you know that I am not this body, I'm spirit soul. So that intelligence will help to conquer false ego. But yes, most of the time it's false ego leading than intelligence, because we are in ignorance. Till coming to Krishna consciousness, we were thinking we are this body and we have this only one life, we need to enjoy. And we have so much false ego that thinking that, oh, this family belongs to me, this house belongs to me, car belongs to me, everything is me, I'm the only doer. But in the last chapter, we saw we are not the only doer, right? The soul, super soul, and in the soul, super soul, and the material nature. So I thought I'll show that presentation. So in that it is mentioned nicely about how yes, here. So this is what we are doing, right? Who is the doer? When we see the jiva is actually desiring it, but it's actually super soul who verifies and sanctions it, right? Does this jiva deserves to get the desire? Krishna, so sometimes you might ask, I'm desiring so many things. All of us can desire to become a millionaire or a billionaire, but Krishna doesn't sanction that. Why? Because he sees whether we deserves to get the desire. Do I have so much punya to become rich? Krishna sees that, and then he sanctions. It's not that everything he sanctions, so that anybody can desire anything and Krishna sanctions it. No, Krishna sees whether you deserve to get the desire fulfilled and who is actually carrying it out, the three modes of material nature, right? So most of the time, I mean, so this is what is actually the doer is. But when we are in false ego, what happens? We just become big. I mean, we think about the soul, that, oh, I'm doing everything. We don't even see the super soul. We don't see the material nature. We've been controlled by the material three modes. That's what happens when we become conditioned by the three modes. Okay, so we should know that false ego sometimes becomes greater than intelligence, and when we start spiritual knowledge, then what happens? When you start spiritual knowledge, then what happens? The real transcendental knowledge comes. I'll just share this also. The 8 limbs of Ashtanga Yoga, right? It starts with Yama, which is the don'ts or the prohibitions. Okay, 8 limbs of Ashtanga Yoga. Don'ts is the prohibitions. Sometimes they say, don't eat oily stuffs, don't eat anything 1 hour, 2 hours before yoga practice, and you should be vegetarian. So many don'ts are there. And that's common do's, but don'ts is, yeah. So what happens when you start doing yoga practice, I mean, all the asanas and everything, then if your stomach is full, then you feel like vomiting, and they don't want that to happen. So 2-3 hours, they say the don'ts, and niyamas are do's, the prescriptions, what all you're supposed to do, include a lot of vegetables in your diet and all that. Then asana, the bodily exercise, but not everyone will be able to sit like that for the bodily exercise, right? And then it's pranayam, the breathing exercise, controlling. Pratyahara is withdrawing the senses from sense objects. Dharana is fixing the mind on the Lord's form, which is the 4-handed form. Dhyana is intense meditation on the super soul. Next is complete absorption of trance, which is samadhi. A Bhakti yogi also goes to trance. I've heard, did anyone hear about Gaur Govinda Maharaj in this class? It's Prabhupada's disciple who started the ISKCON Bhubaneswar. No? He is such a great soul. great soul. He's not there now, but then very great soul of and disciple of Srila Prabhupada. When you know how he left his body, might be after the class, please someone remind me. When you hear, I mean, I had goosebumps when I heard when Govinda Maharaj left the body. I mean, it was so good. That proves he's a pure devotee. He went to Samadhi for 2 months. He was in Mayapur. He went to Samadhi. He was in that one of the, I think, Bhavan, Chakra Bhavan or Padma Bhavan, some Bhavan, he was there. And another devotee was with him. 2 months. He didn't eat anything. He was just in, he used to open his eyes, but then he doesn't see anyone here. And then he was in some other form. I mean, some other bhav. He was in a pure bhava stage. And that devotee was sharing the experience with Gaur Govinda Maharaj. 2 months he was in Samadhi. And nobody could believe that. That's in Bhakti Yoga. Then 8 limbs of Ashtanga, that is the Patanjali's Yoga Shuddha. So here we'll just see the Yama means what? Ahimsa, non-violence, Satya, truthfulness, and Ashteya, the not stealing, Brahmacharya, celibacy, all this non-possessiveness, everything comes in Yama. Niyama is Shaucha, that is cleanliness, we should be clean. Santosha, the contentment. Tapas, austerity. Swadhyaya, the study should be there, right? So we know how Dhruv Maharaj was. So initially, Dhruv Maharaj saw Narad Muni, and then later on Narad Muni gave the mantra, then he meditated on the form of the Lord. It's actually Narad Muni who actually instructed and told him the 400 form, and then he meditated on that particular form, right? And then finally he could get a darshan in 6 months. And also there is the Ashtanga Yoga. The Yoga Ruruksha is the beginning stage. When one is completely purified of material desires, he can give up Nishkama Karma Yoga and practice Ashtanga Yoga. So there are different techniques of doing it. Mind control will come and detachment of sense object. That is Yoga Duda stage. That is towards the end. Okay. So we were talking about the mind control. Where is it? So what happens to an uncontrolled mind? Okay, I'll go to that presentation later. So let's finish this. What happens to a controlled mind? Becomes your best friend, and uncontrolled mind is your enemy. Now, best way to control is engaging in Krishna service. And importance of training the mind. Right? This we finished. Why should we train the mind? Yeah. So being completely neutral to all material existence. That's what the 7th Shloka says, 7th and 8th. So 7th we saw, and the 8th is Jnana Vijnana Triptatma Kudasto Vicheti Priyaha Yuktad Idi Uchyate Yogi Sama Loshram Rishma Kanjana. A person who is said to be established in self-realization is called the yogi when he is fully satisfied by virtue of acquired knowledge and realization. Such a person is situated in transcendence and is self-control. He sees everything, whether it is pebbles, stones, or gold, as the same. So mundane scholarship is not enough. That is, book knowledge without realization of supreme truth is useless. Most of the time, we have so much book knowledge. We grab so many slokas and we know the meaning and all, but then realization is not there. That realization should come. That's possible by Vaishnav Seva and mercy of Acharyas and Guru. So how to realize the knowledge? By rendering transcendental devotion service to the Lord. Right? Other Shri Krishna Nama Vinamba Vedrahyam Indriya Sevan Mukhe Chipado Swayam Eva Swaratyada. Krishna's Nama Adi, name, form, qualities, and pastime. Nama Rupa Gunalila. It's not visible for Nabevid Graham Indriye, by your blunt material senses. We can't understand Krishna. What should we do? Sevan Mukhehi Jihvado. You need to start service by your tongue, chanting the holy name, taking Krishna Prasad. Then Swayam Eva Swaratyada. Krishna reveals to you when you involve in Krishna's service. And Bhagavad Gita is the signs of Krishna consciousness. How one become Krishna conscious, not just by mundane scholarship, one must be fortunate enough to associate with a person who's in pure consciousness. So when we associate with Prabhupada, who's in pure consciousness, what happens? Slowly, we also get that knowledge. So in the purport, Prabhupada mentions that. And also in the 9th, so 7 to 9, right? Yeah. So 9th also he says, Suhrin Mitrari Udashina Madhyastha Tveshya Bandhuso Sadhushva apicha papeshu sama buddhir vishishyate. A person is considered still further advanced when he regards honest well-wishers, affectionate benefactors, the neutral meditators, the envious friends and enemies, the pious and the sin, with all an equal mind. Right? That's a Vidya Vinaya Sampanne, Brahmane Kavihastine, Shumiche Visvapakecha, Pandita Samadarshina, who sees everyone equal. A Krishna conscious person is a realized soul. He is satisfied with devotional service. Therefore, he has realized knowledge by the grace of Krishna. And is steady in the convictions of the. What are the two qualities of an Acharya? What does an Acharya do? Or what are the two things which he has to be fulfilling? The criteria has to be fulfilled for an Acharya or a Guru. Yes, Prabhu? Yeah, Biju Prabhu.
Follow the principles primarily.
And he should follow the Shastras and the principles there. And only he should follow. Yes, Santosh Prabhu.
Achar and Prachar, Mataji.
Yeah, Achar and Prachar. Very good. He should follow and also he should preach what he is practicing, right? Yeah. So most of the us, what we do, we sometimes we preach, but then we are not practicing. Others they practice, but they are not preaching. There's hardly some who practice what they preach. Srila Prabhupada was like that. In his own example, he showed, right? And he's an equal well-wisher to all. He's Paramahamsa stage. But Achar and Prachar, that's very important. We have to practice and also we preach what we practice. That's very important, right? That's how an Acharya is. He is convinced with the scriptures, teachings in the scriptures, and he is able to convince others about the scriptures, right? That's how an Acharya is. So we should be self-controlled by the strength of his realized knowledge. Realized knowledge, okay? Theory we know, but we should realize it. That will come slowly. And scholarship and mental speculation, which are gold to others, are as good as pebbles or stones. Emphasis on taking association with Krishna conscious person. Bhagavad is the science of Krishna consciousness and cannot be understood by mundane scholarship. The real fortune is to associate with one in pure consciousness. So how are we able to understand Bhagavad Gita? It's not because of our intelligence or anything. It's Prabhupada's mercy. Prabhupada has made it so simple for us so that it's easy for us to understand, right? That's why Prabhupada have given this. Okay, so I'll just quickly go through the other part of the presentation. So there is the uncontrolled mind. Mind is again our enemy as well as the friend. So most of the time we are suffering because of an uncontrolled mind. You know, most of these negative things happening in this world is because of uncontrolled mind only, you know, because of an uncontrolled mind. So what happens, there are so many sets of objects and so many things. At work there's pressure, at family, in family there's pressure, and so many things, you know, the from morning till evening we are undergoing so many stress and so many things where the mind becomes uncontrolled, right? So how is it flickering us, or how is the fickle mind going? There's lack of confidence, there's depression because of uncontrolled mind, there's stress because of hypertension, and so many diseases becomes, damage to oneself, the family and society, weakened determination, dangerous diseases, madness, loss of trust and confidence, right? This happens when your mind is not controlled. When the mind is controlled, all this is just gone away. So there are many, when Namnishta Prabhu gives that bridge class, mind control techniques, he says physical method, all the methods, and finally he says about spiritual method, right? Mantra meditation. So by the way, if you are joining for Japa session, please on the video and keep, and it really encourages, I got messages that it really encourages the neophyte devotees who are not yet chanting 16 rounds, when they see you sitting and chanting. Others, some are out of India, so they have time difference. Others who have some job thing and working or studying, okay, at least half an hour you come, 45 minutes, come and sit and chant, and then you can, or if you are attending that 5:45 a.m. short class, go to the class in that facility link and then come back again and sit and chant, right? In both the ways it helps you. But Prabhu wants continuous 2 hours Japa session, and he makes it compulsory for all Bhakti Shastri students. And you're kind of a senior batch, so you're going to finish the first module. So that will really help us. Constantly consistently you chant 16 rounds in Brahma Muhurta, you see the change in you. Your quality of rounds will be good, and because your mind is so fresh. And Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati says something, no? What should you do to the mind when you wake up in the morning and when you go to sleep? What does he say? Does anyone know? Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati says, what do we have to say with the mind? Yes, Santosh Prabhu. What we are supposed to do with the mind? You can unmute.
It is said we have to hit it with slipper and broom.
Yeah, in the morning. And then at night?
Same treatment, I think.
Night, Prabhu, when you're about to sleep, you should take a broom and sweep it.
Yeah, broomstick.
So not literally take a shoe and beat it. He means that when you get up in the morning, you should tell your mind, oh, it's Brahma Muhurta, get up. But the mind will say, you know, how many of you experience this? The mind will say, oh, it's cold today, let me sleep. There's nice blanket. What one Brahma Muhurta, that's okay. Next tomorrow I can get up and chant. And tomorrow it will go on. Tomorrow I'll get up correct at 4 o'clock and then chant. Now, how many of you did experience? I experienced it so many times. You snooze your mobile and you're like, today I can sleep. Now everyone is sleeping. Let me also sleep. And what is there one day if I skip? This is all your mind tricking you. Just say that's Maya. That is Maya. Definitely that's Maya. All of you experienced. Oh, others are all pure devotees in my class who never experienced all this. Very nice. We should follow the example. But yes, and we know the mind is not control, and when you're doing the japa, it goes so many places, it goes and come back, it goes and come back. Yet how many rounds we are able to hear clearly? Every time it goes, try to bring it back. So when you get up in the morning, what should we do? Beat the mind with the shoe. That means tell the mind that you are spirit soul, you're not this body, and you have to serve Krishna. Do it now in Brahma Muhurta. This is the right time to do. It's an emergency. You have to do. And then when you're about to sleep, there's so many impressions coming in your mind the whole day, in the office and at work, at the home, and so many things. Take a broom and sweep it away. In the sense, just forget it. It's over. Today it's done. Don't keep it again and think over it again and again and again. Right? So we need to focus ourselves. Yeah, you need to force. Sometimes every day, yeah, we have to force ourselves to get up, because we are still in Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti stage. When you are come to Raganuga stage, that's different. So what happens? The result of action of an uncontrolled mind? Suicide. Suicide is one of the main reason for an uncontrolled mind, right? Because your mind is so in imbalance that you can't think of anything. You have a relationship problem, boyfriend, girlfriend breakout, or something with the husband, wife, some problem, then immediately, because you're thinking only of this body, you're thinking what the society will say, what others will say, what the family is saying, and then you just keep thinking about it again and again. Might be that person insulted you only once. Might be the husband told or wife told bad things, bad words only once. But in your mind, you keep on thinking the same thing 100 times. That's a main cause of suicide, right? When kids, they fail in classes, in colleges and all, what is the first thing they think about the suicide? Because they think only this about this body. And that's a method of uncontrolled mind. But the cause of uncontrolled mind, right? So what is the best way to get out of it is just try to open your mind to someone. Trust somebody who can help you. Don't say your problems to someone who can't help you. Right? Always associate with senior devotees who can actually solve your problems. When you go to a neophyte and say your problem, the neophyte won't understand what your spiritual problems or material problems are. And your same category people also can't give you the real advice. But somebody who's senior to you, who have gone through different things in life, definitely can advise you. So when you open your mind, that's the 6 types of association, right? Tadaji, Pradigranadi, Guhyam Akyadi Prachati. Guhyam, for the secrets, you can just tell to someone who can trust, so that you feel a little relieved and you can get the advice. And then, right, so prostitutes and burning houses, cigarettes and all this, intoxication, right, quarrels and breaking TVs and liquor and murder and rape. Yeah, murder and rape is mainly because of uncontrolled mind, right? So it's disturbed senses and the flickering mind, and the lust intelligence is the cause of all. It's all uncontrolled mind is causing all this. Terrorism and everything is because of that. So we have to have a decision maker. We should, and the mind is storehouse of thoughts and desires, and previous experience also comes in that. So all the senses have to be controlled, then the mind becomes automatic control. we know about the chariot of the body, right? So we know where the horses are or the senses are. So who is the reins? If you have a strong rope which is tied to the horse, then the horse will go where you want it to go, right? If it's weak, the horse can just break it and run away. So the mind has to become strong, and that's possible when the senses are engaged in Krishna service. That's the best way to do. And the driver, who is the driver? Who is the owner of the body? Who's driving it? The mind.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Soul.
Yeah, the soul. Soul is driving. Driver is intelligence.
Intelligence.
Right? Yeah, the owner is the soul. Okay, this mind, the intelligence. So if you have nice spiritual intelligence, then you can control the mind easily. Okay, this analogy we have given. Okay, so how Srila Prabhupada started. If Prabhupada would have thought, I can't do it alone, this ISKCON wouldn't have come. He was so strong in mind, right? In 1 year, for 1 year in America, no preaching actually happened. When Srila Prabhupada initially went, 65 to 66, nothing happened. And every day Prabhupada used to see, is there any ship back to India? He used to come and see, but he never takes ticket whenever went, because he was fixed in his mind that he is going to be successful, right? So the later on from 6:10 to 17 is the basic practice of meditation has been told that meditation is the advanced stage of Ashtanga Yoga, and later on we see perfection in meditation. Okay, so this is how the Ashtanga Yoga has been explained here. So Ashtanga Yoga has been explained from 10 to 36, and the practicing stage of Ashtanga Yoga has been explained here. Yogi yunjita satatam atmanam rahasi stitaha ekaki yada chittatma nirashir aparigraha. So how do we sit? It should be in a solitude place. You can see nobody else to disturb. But how many places like this are available in Kali Yuga? Wherever you go, there is all disturbance and everything happening. In Satya Yuga, this was possible, and they had long lifetime. No, so for them it's not a problem, right? So it is mentioned here, a transcendentalist should engage his body, mind, and self in relation with the Supreme. He should live alone in a secluded place. Is that possible? And should always carefully control his mind. He should be free from desires and feeling of possessiveness, right? So this is not possible here. So in that purport, in the 10th purport, you can see the two things Prabhupada mentioned. Anasaktasya vishaya yataham upayunchita nirbande Krishna sambandhe yukta vairagamuchyate prapanchikataya putya hari sambandhi vastina mumukshidi parityago vairagyam falkatyate. Well, if you have your book, you can see the purport of 10th Shloka. You can see the two things which Rupa Goswami mentions in Nectar of Devotion, right? Yukta Vairagya and Falgu Vairagya. Okay, now let's stop here for a breakout session, that you need to give from the Shastras example of Yukta Vairagya and Falgu Vairagya. Okay, and you need to explain also what that person is. You can also take from Acharyas, from the Guru Parampara also, that how this Yukta Vairagya and Falgu Vairagya have been practiced by them, and how do you think that have helped you? Okay, so there is two things, preaching and practical application here. So Yukta Vairagya and in the 10th is that given here? Let me see. Shloka. Yeah, here. So Prabhupada mentions here two things here. That is, so you can see in from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, right? The Vairagya, that is Yukta Vairagya, which is complete, and Falgu Vairagya, which is incomplete. The two things that is said. And so these are the two verses which is describing that. So yeah, here, okay. So how this is helping? How is Yukta Vairagya practiced by some devotee, and how it helps them? And what about Falgu Vairagya, right? When how did they start doing Falgu Vairagya, and how? So from their life, what do you learn? Like a personal application, and for practical, how is the practical application for this particular thing happens? like for Yukta Vairagya and Phalgu Vairagya. You understood the question, no? It's just from the Shastras. Maybe you can take from Bhagavatam, you can also take from Chaitanya Charitamrita, if you know, and also from the Acharya's life, Guru Paramparas. Just tell me some devotees' name and what they actually did. How do you think it's Yukta Vairagya or Phalgu Vairagya? Okay, maybe 5 minutes.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna. We'll have more people, just 4 of us.
Yeah, 4 of us. ಅಲ್ಲ ಇದು breakout room.
Mataji, you would like to give the points? Sunita Mataji?
When one is not attached, it is there in the purport itself. When one is not attached to anything, but at the same time accepts everything in relation to Krishna, he is rightly situated beyond possessiveness, because he is above possessiveness. That is Yukta Vairagya. And one who rejects everything without knowledge of its relationship to Krishna, that is Phalgu Vairagya. And he is not as complete in his renunciation. He simply renounced everything, but without knowing that we can utilize it in the service of Krishna.
Right.
And examples, I don't understand.
Examples you would know?
You can say Amrish, see Janak Maharaj.
Yeah.
Being a king, he utilized everything in his in the service of Krishna, remembering all the time of not Janak Maharaj, Amrish. Amrish Maharaj. Even Janak also, he was a well-known king and he was a perfect devotee. You can say that also.
This time you will take note and you are familiar with it.
I'll give you points, Prabhuji. You take notes, Prabhuji. I'll give you points. See, Krishna conscious person, he knows that everything belongs to Krishna, so he utilizes everything in the service of Krishna. Unlike Mayavadis. See, Mayavadis are Phalgu Vairagis. They simply...
Artificial intelligence.
Yes, Mataji.
Artificial renunciation.
Artificial renunciation.
Prabhuji, one point I was just checking in the net, and what it's mentioned is like the family members of the Yadu dynasty and the cowards of Vrindavana. They had their minds fixed on Krishna, and that is an example of, Yukta Vairagya.
Right. So this time I'm not very confident about it. I'm not very clear about it. I'm just trying to understand. So if one of you could take it. Generally, I do have, and I take my points also, but I'm not very confident about it.
Actually, examples, we are not finding any examples. Actually.
Example, whatever you said, Mataji, I think that should be good enough.
Only one example.
Okay, let me check.
Mataji, we can mention this example for Yukta Vairagya, no?
Which one, Mataji?
The coward boys of Vrindavana, the Gopas, and the Yadu dynasty people who were serving Krishna. They are the example of Yukta Vairagya. They were serving Phalgu. I need to check, Mataji. Just checking.
We see so many sadhus nowadays wearing only saffron.
Yes.
They'll be holding mobile and all. That is the common example we get in the books also.
Right.
Yeah, that is a common example. Nowadays sadhus
the pretenders, right?
Phalgu Vairagis, pretenders. They seem to be as if they are renounced everything, but they are not renounced in reality. Penija Mataji, do you get anything? Example, do you get any example?
No, Mataji.
Example. Biju Prabhuji, have you taken points, Prabhuji?
Only 2 points which I have.
Okay. And Gunashri Mataji also told on point. That is about your Yadu, covered boys and Yadu dynasty. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, I am not remembering. Gunashri Mataji, do you remember anything in Chaitanya Charitamrita?
No, Mataji, I'm just trying to check.
Chaitanya Charitamrita. And Prabhupada himself is an example.
Yes, Mataji, definitely.
Prabhupada is an example because he used everything in the service of Lord. He didn't simply renounce everything. He accepted everything for the preaching purpose. And nowadays, whatever we use, whether it is a house or whether we use a car, whatever we use, everything for the service of Lord only. We go to temple using car.
Mataji, here we can take an example of a politician using a car versus a devotee using a car.
For
Politician?
Politician using the car versus a devotee using the car for a preaching versus for the political agenda, like Yukta versus this Falgu.
And devotees doing Sankirtan, Nagar Sankirtan. We're not simply going out for enjoyment.
Yeah.
We are using our feet for the service of the Lord. We are using our ears. Simultaneously, we are using all our senses. Kirtan, Hari Kirtan, and with our feet, we are walking on the road. That too, we are spreading Krishna consciousness. With that, devotee.
Yeah, and Mataji herself gave an example of the laptop, right? Of using the Falgu Vairagyas, they will just try to say that no, we should not be using like in context with this chapter. Whereas
it's the same technology for his own enjoyment, but the devotee uses all the technology for satisfaction of Krishna and Swadhyay.
Yes.
These breakout room questions are sometimes, very tricky. Because the problem is we don't get examples. That is a problem. Whatever is there in book, we can say. But get examples.
Hare Krishna Mataji. I'm seeing one example from Nectar of Devotion lectures when I Google for Falgu Vairagya. So Nectar of Devotion, it's saying like Gaya city is situated on the river Falgu. This river is got like Falgu because on the bed you will find only sand, but if you push your hand within the sand, you will find water. So similarly, Falgu Vairagya, the so-called sannyasis, they have taken the dress of renounced order though, but within the heart they have got all the desires to fulfill within the heart. So if you put, so that is given for Falgu Vairagya example.
So Mataji, would you like to take it and because it's a good example of again Falgu. So you wish to
this point I can share, Prabhuji. Falgu Vairagya, the one which I said.
Yeah.
Rest of the points, you and Mataji will be sharing.
I think one of us will have to do it. So I generally do it when I'm very confident about it. So how do you want to do it?
You only go ahead, Prabhuji.
Okay.
You can go ahead, Prabhuji.
What Mataji just now told is about the Falgu, that is the explanation of Falgu Vairag, which looks deep, but in reality it is not deep, it is shallow. Like no sannyasis.
Right.
Yeah, I can send you, Prabhuji, if you want. No, I can share you the text, so you can just, it will help.
Sannyasis, but in reality they are not sannyasis. They are not in a renounced order.
Yeah.
Mataji, can we say that who are practicing yoga and meditation?
Yoga and meditation.
In the means of controlling their senses, they think they are something.
That comes in, because they are straight away they go to this asana without yama and niyama.
Yes, ma'am.
Isn't it?
Yeah, Mataji.
I don't think that big example we can give. Prabhu, how many points, Prabhu? 3 points, right?
So I have one point for each, what I have mentioned.
First one is the person is not attached to anything, but at the same time accepts everything in relation to Krishna. That is the first point, right?
One second. So I've written, somebody who is in Yukta Vairagya is renounced from the material needs and is
material needs.
Yeah, and is making more advancement into the spiritual.
But material needs
and is, whatever he's doing it through Krishna. I mean, for Krishna.
In relation to Krishna.
In relation to Krishna. An example, you said Prabhupada can be the example which we can.
Prabhupada and King Amrish also. Being a king, he was using everything. He was in such a highly elevated position, being a king, but he was an exemplary to the other people because he was performing all the 9 devotional stages, despite of being a king. Using everything. And the second point is Yukta Vairagya means the people in Yukta Vairagya, people will be situated highly above the possessiveness.
Above the
possessiveness, because they don't get a sense of possessiveness, because they know they are serving for Krishna and nothing belongs to them.
Above attachment, right? Basically.
Attachment and possessiveness. They won't have the sense of possessiveness. And Falgu Vairagya means they reject simply everything without the knowledge of.
Yeah, so I've written they project as if they have renounced everything, but then it is more like a pretender who still has the desire in their heart.
Yeah, pretender.
Example is, I mean, not specific, but many of the modern sadhus.
Let's see, Mataji told, politician nowadays, politician.
Yeah, politicians also.
Yeah, politician and devotee, yeah.
Yeah.
And Yukta Vairagi, Prabhuji, another point you can add. Yukta Vairagi rejects things unfavorable to Krishna consciousness.
Sorry?
Yukta Vairagi rejects things unfavorable to Krishna consciousness.
Will not do things.
That is for Yukta Vairagi.
Yeah. Yeah, so they will not do things which is unfavorable to Krishna consciousness.
Yeah, unfavorable to Krishna consciousness. They will reject the things.
So we'll leave now.
Very good.
All in
Ambarish, Haridas Thakur and
our Srila Prabhupada.
Prabhupada. Oh, good.
And
Yukta, what about Falgu?
Falgu, we have Bharat Maharaj.
Can you explain?
Yeah, he was in total renunciation. He was practicing yoga, and he wanted to get a realization, and he wanted to get liberation. Somehow, because of the baby deer, he was thinking about that instead of thinking about Krishna at the time of departure.
Yes, that's good thing. Yes,
And
Bharat
when he
Maharaj.
became
Yes.
Jada Bharat, he became.
Yeah, that is later.
Yeah,
Then,
and Chota Haridas, where
Chota Haridas. Yeah, can you explain?
Yeah, I think he went for getting the food stuff for the day's what do you call cooking. And one lady who served food, he was impressed by her beauty, and he felt something bit uncomfortable, or he was impressed by her beauty, and that thought got into the food stuff he brought. And Guru, when he realized, he felt, something, this devotee has done some wrong, so he was punished for it.
Okay.
And Bharat Maharaj, Yukta Vairagya, we have Chota Haridas. I think we have only this much.
Vishwamitra.
Vishwamitra is a nice example for Falgu. Okay.
Yeah, Vishwamitra is another one. Yeah.
So that was room number 3. Okay, now let's go to room number 1. Biju Prabhu, Gunashri Mataji, Penaja Mataji, Smita Mataji, Sunita Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yes, Prabhu.
So what we felt, and Yukta Vairagya, basically people who have renounced from the material wants and are constantly trying to be progressing in the spiritual path. They are the ones who are above, say, any kind of a possession or attachment, and they would reject which are things unfavorable to Krishna consciousness.
Okay.
And here again, we had similar 2 examples of Prabhupada and Srila Prabhupada and King Amrish, which was explained.
Amrish Maharaj and Prabhupada. Okay.
Yeah. In the case of the Falgu Vairagya, they seem to or project as if they have renounced things, but they're more like pretenders who got this deep desire still of being attached to the material things. So we've taken a generic example, like maybe some of the current politicians and the so-called sadhus.
Yeah, the bogus gurus and so-called sadhus. Yes. So inside they have all these sense gratification, but then outside they look like a renounced person.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mataji, we can also add Durvasa Muni for the Falgu Vairagya. We're talking about Amrish Maharaj.
Durvasa Muni, yes. So it looks like he have controlled all the senses, but still he had anger and he tried to hurt Amrish Maharaj. He did Vaishnava Aparadh in that way. That was again, nobody could find. Okay, what about one more room is left? No, room number 2. Ganesh Prabhu, Madhu Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Madhu Mataji and Santosh Prabhuji will.
Yes, yes.
On behalf of the group. Thank you.
Mataji, for Yukta Vairagya, we took Amrish Maharaj and Srila Prabhupada.
Good.
And for Falgu Vairagya, Prakashananda Saraswati.
I was waiting for Chaitanya Charitamrita. Prakashananda Saraswati. A little bit, maybe 1 or 2 lines. Can you say about him?
Actually, they had a debate among themselves. And he was the most elevated scholar during that time. And he was very sure during the debate that he will win. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu could win the battle with Prakashananda Saraswati.
Yes, so he was a Mayavadi and then he looks very renounced. But then when he was speaking about, the Mayavadi Bhashya about it. Yes,
and he will take up the Vaishnava philosophy after getting defeated by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And we took Chota Haridas for Falgu Vairagya.
Yes.
And Durvasa Muni, Vishwamitra.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yes, Santosh Prabhu wants to say something.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Mataji. Most of them put it very well. Just to add now regarding this Prakashananda Saraswati, Mayavadis, they don't understand the transcendental symptoms of the devotees.
Yes.
And think it is a temporary emotional feeling. So such a statement what he made, it is offensive to the Vaishnavas. And for that reason, Srila Rupa is this whatever Mayavadi's philosophy it is Falgu Vairagya.
Yes.
And Yukta Vairagya we also discussed about Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati who before preaching who took a vow to chant 1 million names for 10 years, 192 rounds he chanted. So for Yukta Vairagya we also added this.
One more example I'm looking from Chaitanya Charitamrita, who artificially tried to renounce the family, came running to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Mahaprabhu said, "Don't do Yukta Vairagya."
Raghunath Goswami from
Raghunath Das Goswami. Yes, I was waiting for that. Raghunath Das Goswami. 2-3 times he left his family. He was married also, and he left his family and his wealth and everything and tried running to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Mahaprabhu was like, "Don't do this. This is Yukta Vairagya. Don't do Markada Vairagya." No? So in that way, and he went back again and then went back again. Finally, when he was purely Krishna conscious and he started practicing Yukta Vairagya, and then slowly he got the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and went to Vrindavan. So yes, Raghunath Das Goswami again for Yukta Vairagya.
Yes. Mataji? Mataji, can I?
Yeah, what Akshay Prabhu?
I'll give 2 examples, Mataji. One example is Bhakta Prahlad is like a Yukta Vairagya, and incompatibility is like Holika, who want to try to burn him. Holika.
Prahlad.
Yeah. And other example is Yukta Vairagya is Lord Krishna, and other is Paundrak, who looks like Krishna. Who looks like Krishna. Yeah, Paundrak, who looks like Krishna and destroy. But it's not Krishna actually.
But how was he coming in Yukta Vairagya? I mean, Falgu Vairagya, I didn't understand. Falgu Vairagya means whatever is, means they renounce artificially.
Yeah, that's what. He's like Paundrak is it's showing Mahabharata. He's like he looks like fake like Krishna, but it's not actually Krishna. Like holding chakra, personal chakra. It's showing Mahabharata.
Yeah, but he didn't renounce anything, no?
Artificially. No. Like evil kind of evil thing.
Okay. Santosh Prabhu?
Hare Krishna Mataji. Regarding Falgu Vairagya, one more example is Swami Vivekananda and Ramakrishna Mission. Prabhu was telling that they have this chicken farm in their ashramas. They have meat eating, all those things. So they show that they are renounced, but all this sense gratification is still there. So really, this example, we all admire Vivekananda, but behind this is one thing which I recently got to know. So thought of sharing.
So here, Prabhupada mentions in the purport after that, he says a Krishna conscious person knows very well that everything belongs to Krishna. So he's always free from any personal possession, right? And he has no hungry for anything and on his own personal account. He accepts what is favoring Krishna consciousness, rejects as unfavoring Krishna consciousness. He's aloof from material things. Okay. So that's why he's a perfect yogi. So in that way, yes, using everything in Krishna service. Everything. Like even Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati did a perfect Yukta Vairagya. I think nobody mentioned about him. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, he used to, how did he do Yukta Vairagya? Does anyone know? Prabhupada's guru. Suma Mataji?
He used to wear a cap and nice dress, Mataji.
Nice cap and go for preaching. Then what else he used? He used something else, some expensive thing. Car, yeah, because he was the magistrate's son. Bhakti Vinod Thakur was a magistrate of Puri, and he was very rich also. So you can see a photo where Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati is going in a nice car, and those days, big car. And to see the car, people will come running. Because in those days, it was like before 60s, it was very rare to see car like that. So they'll come running. And Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati used to preach to those people who came to see the car. Actually, he used the car to preach Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada also followed the same thing. Prabhupada's disciple, Gadgamuni, he arranged once when Prabhupada landed, I don't remember the place, there were like some 6 or 7 big cars were lying near to the airport. And Prabhupada was like, what is this? So it's Gadgamuni who actually arranged for that big. So when so many cars are going, it's some white color or something, one after the other. People keep running, coming and seeing. In an interview, somebody asked, the reporter asked Prabhupada, why are you using such big costly cars? Like, Rolls Royce, and why are you using all this? Prabhupada's like, if you give me, I will use it. That's how they treat the Guru. They're treating the Guru like that. And I'm using it for Krishna service. And then so one reporter asked, don't you feel ashamed to beg money and not work? You're not working. Prabhupada's like, I'm not working. No, you can't work like me. I'm working 24 hours almost. Only 2 hours I'm taking rest. And I'm traveling all over the world. And she was some young journalist. And Prabhupada's like, you can't work like me. I'm an old man, 70 plus, and I'm working so hard. So for an outsider, it looks like Krishna consciousness is, just a waste of time, and you're not doing any service. In the best welfare service it's ever done. So yeah, and also you can take any of all the great devotees. You can see either they are from the IIT field or they are medical field. Almost all these ISKCON temples will have an IIT graduate. IIT is very difficult to crack. So they're using that intelligence in Krishna service, right? So they have done Swadhyay, done the studies, and then they are trying to take youth preaching and all that. So that's also one thing of Yukta Vairagya, using their intelligence in Krishna service. Actually, 4 things can be used in Krishna service. I was hearing Prabhupada's lecture. One is our life can be given to Krishna, our money can be given to Krishna, our intelligence and our, what is the other thing? Words. Yeah, mind, body, and words. Along with that, you can give your money. So there's the different things can be sacrificed to Krishna. So one question was, how was a devotee called devotee is said to sacrifice? How is devotional service called a sacrifice? You're not sacrificing anything, right? Are we sacrificing? Why is it called sacrifice? The sacrifice in prescribed in Kali Yuga is chanting the holy name. How do you say devotional service is sacrifice? We're not sacrificing anything, no.
We're giving our time.
For sense enjoyment, Mataji.
The sense enjoyment is kept away. And Sharmila Mataji.
Yeah, we are giving our time, like chanting.
We are sacrificing our time, which is the most precious thing. A devotee devotes his time to Krishna, right? When you're chanting the holy name, 16 rounds means 2 hours. You're actually, from 24 hours, you're giving 2 hours to Krishna. That's a sacrifice, what you can do. And you can take example of brahmacharis and sannyasis. They have sacrificed their life for Krishna, right? You sacrifice and sense enjoyment, as Mataji said, that's also a kind of sacrifice. When you take Ekadashi, you're actually sacrificing the foodstuffs which we eat. We're taking prasad, still there's a sacrifice. So it is a sacrifice. I could finish only 10 slokas. I want to finish 20, but I think I'll take some 3 sessions anyway. Anyway, our exam is on Jan, no? Did I tell the close book was on? When did I tell the date? 13th?
13th.
Yeah, Jan 13th. So we have like 2 weeks left.
Mataji,
Anybody want
other
to
option other
postpone
than
it?
13? Do we have 2 days as an option, or 13th is fixed?
2 days. It's a small group, so I thought it's only 13th. If someone is traveling and all that, then we can fix. Because I need 2 more weeks for chapter 6 then. Actually, we should give 2 days option. Yeah. But let me see. Since it's a small group, we could go for a date which is convenient for everyone. Is Madhuri Mataji?
Yes, Mataji, I have one question, Mataji. In text number 5 purport, it says the word Atma denotes body, mind, and soul.
Yes.
Upon different circumstances. But Mataji, we say here it is directly referring that Atma is, named called as mind. But mind, intelligence, and ego, they are like gross elements, no, Mataji. Then.
Not gross, subtle. Mind, yes. Intelligence, and false ego, the subtle elements.
Yes, then I'm confused, Mataji. That Atma is soul. Then how come here it is saying that it is mind?
Yeah. So sometimes we say Adhyatmik, Klesha. No, there are 3 types. No, Adibaudik, Adidevik, and Adhyatmik. Yes. So there, Adhyatmik, when you say, it refers to body and mind. Adhyatmik Klesha. That means any sufferings that's coming from the body, like your headache and all that, and also your mind is disturbed, that is also Adhyatmik suffering. So there, Atma refers to body and mind, right? Otherwise, if you say Dehinosmin Yada Dehe, in that sloka, when the purport, it's Atma is actually for the soul. Now the soul transmigrates, Tada Dehandar Prapti, the soul is getting transmigrated, right? In that way, it is called the Atma as the soul. So it is, Prabhupada mentions that it is interchangeable. This term Atma can be used for body, mind, and soul in that way. In particular verses, it's a particular thing it is mentioning. It's anyway, it's associated. When the soul goes from one body to another body, it doesn't go alone, no? It takes mind and intelligence and false ego with it, right?
Yes, Mataji.
It leaves the gross body back. But most of the time, we don't use Atma for body, no? Normally, Atma is separate, body is separate. But in Krishna's case, Atma and body is the same, no? Transcendental. And even for pure devotees, in that case, Atma, soul and the body is for same. That's why they put to Samadhi. We don't destroy their body as a pure devotee. They go to Samadhi. I forgot this. So that Gaur Govinda Maharaj, what happened when he was in Mayapur, and he was a great devotee in Bhava stage. He went to the Samadhi for almost 2 months, and he was in Mayapur, and he was explaining. The 2 or 3 devotees came to meet him, and they asked him, why did Chaitanya Mahaprabhu go to Jagannath Puri, not to Vrindavan? So he was explaining that, yes, Sachimata said that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu should stay in Jagannath Puri so that she can visit him. You know, Mayapur and Puri is nearby. And another reason is there is a Vipralamba Bhav, because Mahaprabhu is Radharani in separation from Krishna, and Jagannath is Krishna in separation from Radharani. So there is Vipralamba Bhav, which is the highest form of Madhurya Ras, and that's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu purposely selected Jagannath Puri, not Vrindavan. In Vrindavan, the Bhav is different there. But here in Puri, because Jagannath is Krishna in separation from Radharani, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Bhav is Radharani in separation from Krishna. When they meet each other, so much of Vipralamba Bhav is there. So he was speaking that, when I speak, when we hear, nothing for us. No? We are all neophyte devotees for nothing for us. But when Gaur Govinda Maharaj was saying this, his voice started choking. The Ashta Satvika Vihar, like the symptoms, the 8 symptoms a pure devotee can have. The, what is it called? The tears in the eyes, and there's hair standing on end, blood coming from the hairs, and the whole body starts trembling, sweating, the voice chokes, and you fall unconscious. All these are the 8 symptoms which can in ecstasy. So that started happening, and the devotees didn't understand what to do. And finally, Gaur Govinda Maharaj could not speak. His voice was choking. And then he asked, Kirtan. He was saying all the devotees to have Kirtan. So they started Hare Krishna mantra. And he had a small Gopal whom he used to worship. So it was in his room. So he said, please get my Gopal. And he looked at Gopal. It was on his hand. And he was crying, thinking about separation from Krishna and Radharani. And he was just like, Gopal, Gopal. And he fell back. In the chair, he just fell back. On the spot, he left. And all the devotees are like, in Mayapur Dham, he was talking about Radharani and Krishna separation. Looking at his deity, Gopal, he just left. That's how he went into Samadhi. And this proves like Srila Prabhupada also, in 1977, in the month of Kartik month, in Vrindavan, surrounded by devotees, translating Srimad Bhagavatam, he left. Definitely he is a pure soul associate of Krishna. But then Gaur Govinda Maharaj also is one of the dear disciples of Srila Prabhupada, who actually was in a bhava stage when he left. So that proves that how a devotee can go to Samadhi. So Samadhi is not just for yogis, that they control the breathing air and the soul, and through the upper part of the head they leave the soul. No, that's not. That's for the yogis. But for a bhakti yogi, Samadhi is also like absorbed in Krishna. Open book assignment by Sunday. Okay, maybe you can extend some more days. Punishri Mataji, did you close the link? No. The form.
No, Mataji, not closed yet.
Yeah. Prabhu, make it fast. Like, actually, if there is a deadline, we should close it, but it's okay. So once it is done, then we start preparing closed book questions. Okay, all of you start preparing closed book questions. Then if you prepare it, then it's easy. You don't have to write it. You discuss in your Bhakti Visha, find out the answer, so that you're ready for the closed book exam. And slokas also. Those who find slokas difficult, please at least some important slokas you learn, because it's a part of, it's less marks, only 10% of it comes for sloka chanting, but still. Okay, any questions, or can we end here today? Yes, Aarti Mataji.
Mataji, I just wanted